In the earlier videos of introduction to chromatography, we have seen that for an efficient separation on a chromatographic column, two main factors which are to be considered are the rate of migration of the sample components and the zone broadening. Uh, for a efficient separation, the zone broadening must be low or minimum, and the rate of migration of different components of the mixture should be different. Now in the second video we have seen the details of the rate of migration. In this video we'll consider the zone broadening part of it. The theory of chromatography was given by Martin and Sinch. They gave us the plate theory of chromatography. Now in this theory they assume that the column is made up of numerous discrete but contiguous or continuous layers called theoretical plates. It means that the column is supposed to be made up of number of plates where the solutes or the sample components, they will equilibrate between the stationary and the mobile phase. At every phase, at every plate, the sample component will get transferred from the mobile phase to the stationary phase, and then when they come back to the mobile phase. Now when they are in the mobile phase, they will move down because mobile phase will carry them down. Then they go to the next plate. Again in the next plate, they will get transferred from the mobile phase to the stationary phase, and then again come back to the mobile phase. So in this way there is equilibration of the solutes between the stationary and the mobile phase. There is a stepwise transfer from one plate to another, and when the solutes are in the mobile phase, they will move down the column. You can see in the diagram here, a column has been laid in horizontally. You can see that each column is theoretically supposed to be made up of plates. It's supposed to be made of theoretical plates. So there are numerous plates for plates in a column. You can see that longer the column, more will be the number of plates. All the plates, they are assumed to have same height or thickness. So that height or thickness is height equivalent to theoretical plate. Now it is generally assumed that it is generally known that the plate number determines the efficiency of the column. More the number of plates in a column, more will be the efficiency of the column. That is, higher n will indicate higher efficiency. If you can see if h is the height of each plate and L is the length of the column, then the plate number will be given by L upon h. Longer column will give you more plate number, and lower h values will give you more plate number, and vice versa. That is, if you are having a shorter column, plate numbers will be less, and if the plate height is thicker or larger, then the plate number will be less. So you have to create conditions so that you have a lower h value. Otherwise the plate number will be less and the efficiency of the column will be less. Alternatively, if you want higher efficiency, you have to increase the length of the column. Now length of the column can be increased, but that is usually done in gas chromatography and not HPLC or liquid chromatography. Gas chromatography, the mobile phase is not passing through the column under high pressure, whereas in the case of HPLC, the mobile phase passes through the column under high pressure. Now if the mobile phase is passing through the column under high pressure, if the column length is very large, or if you are having a longer column, the chances of the breaking of the column are more because the pressure is very high in HPLC. So in HPLC, to achieve efficiency, plate height is the one which is controlled that is lower plate heights are uh, the conditions are created so that you have lower plate height and which results in higher plate number. Column lengths are not very large in HPLC. They can be at the most 50 to 100 centimeters. Whereas in GC, the column lengths, they are long, say up to 50 meters also, but they are coiled. Now, how do you evaluate the uh, plate number and the plate height? Now, this is a chromatogram of a component, and in this you'll find that uh, TR value of a component is shown. Plate number is given by the formula n is equal to 16 into TR upon W, the whole bracket square. TR is the retention time of the solute. Now, what is this W? If you look at this diagram, you'll find that the peak of any element, peak of any substance in a chromatogram is Gaussian or symmetrical or bell shaped. Now, this peak will have a certain width. If you draw the tangents to the sides of the peak and extend it down to the baseline, where the two tangents intersect the baseline, if you calculate the distance between the two intersections, you get W. So this is the base width of the peak. The base width is made up of two halves, or simply the distance between the intersection of the two tangents. So base width is the one which is used in calculation of the plate number. In one of the formulas, the plate number is calculated using the formula n is equal to 16 into TR by W the whole square. TR is the plate number, TR is the retention time, and W is the base width, which I explained just now. Alternative way of calculating the plate number is by using the formula n is equal to 5.54 into TR by W half for the whole bracket square. Now here we are making use of the half width of the peak. Instead of using the base width, the peak has got certain height. At half height, whatever is the width, that is W half or W 0.5, and that is used in the formula which is shown here, right? So this is your way of calculating the plate number. Plate number calculation are essential because higher to know the efficiency is dependent on the plate number. Higher the plate number, higher will be the efficiency of the column. Now, the plate theory was able to account for the Gaussian shape or the bell shape of the peaks, but it is not able to account for the zone broadening. So, this plate theory was discarded, but the terms plate number and plate height were retained in the newer rate theory of chromatography. The rate theory of chromatography doesn't assume that the plate theory of the chromatography assumed that the rate of transfer of solutes between the stationary phase and the mobile phase is infinite, and hence it failed to account for the zone broadening. So in plate theory, what they assume that as soon as the solutes reach a plate, they will get transferred to the stationary phase immediately and again transfer back to the mobile phase. So this rate of transfer was assumed to be very fast, or you can say infinite, but this is not actual fact. In reality, the rate of transfer has got a certain value, certain finite value, and if the rate of transfer is if the rate of transfer is higher, then your column is more efficient and plate number is higher. So here the rate theory is more realistic in its approach to the rate of transfer of solutes and takes into account the various column parameters mobile phase parameters, stationary phase parameters, and the component parameters also, the mixture component parameter also. Rate theory led to the Van Deemter's equation. This was the equation which was given by Van Deemter's, and this relates the plate height to the various column parameters, mobile phase parameters, stationary parameters, and so on. Zone broadening can be explained by rate theory. Plate theory, the plate theory which was given earlier, is not able to explain zone broadening. Now we'll see what are the various parameters or the various factors which affect zone broadening. In a column, you have the stationary phase, you have the stationary support, you have the thickness of the stationary phase, and also you have that is in the column, whereas the mobile phase which you are using passes through the column at a certain flow rate or a certain linear velocity. So the various factors which affect zone broadening are, first one is the velocity of the mobile phase. The mobile phase velocity can be varied, and you have to choose an optimum velocity. You cannot have very high mobile phase velocity or very low mobile phase velocity. If you are using a very high mobile phase velocity, then your plate height will become higher, and as a result of which your plate number will become less. We'll see in details about this a little bit later. Normally, if you want to do faster separation, you should have higher velocity of the mobile phase, but you can't compromise on the efficiency of the column. So you have to choose an optimum mobile phase velocity. Then the second factor which affects the rate of transfer of the solutes is the diffusion coefficient of the components of the mixture in the mobile phase. The mobile phase in the mobile phase, the various components of the mixture, they will have certain diffusion coefficient, and this is capital dm. The unit of that is square centimeter per second. For linear velocity, the mobile phase, for the linear velocity of the mobile phase, the unit is centimeters per second. Similarly, in the stationary phase, the component of the mixture will diffuse, and it will have a certain diffusion coefficient, and that is again ds. Okay, it is ds. You can see it is ds. In the mobile phase, it is dm, and in the stationary phase, it is ds. Same unit has got the same unit, square centimeter per second. Then another factor which affects the rate of transfer is the retention factor of the component of the mixture, each component of the mixture. Retention factor we have seen in the earlier part is small k or k dash. This retention factor is unitless, it doesn't have any unit. Another factor which affects the rate of transfer of the solutes is the diameter of the packing particle. The stationary phase in the column is supported on a stationary support. This stationary support is made up of particles, and this is called the packing particle. On the particle, the stationary phase is there. So diameter of the packing particle of the stationary phase is given by dp, small dp, where it is the dp is the diameter of the packing material. Smaller packing particles are preferred because that will result to faster rate of transfer. You all very well know that the reaction rates are faster if the particle size of the reaction mixture is small. So obviously, in the case of chromatography, the rate of transfer from the stationary to the mobile phase or from the mobile phase to the stationary phase will be faster, will be higher if your packing material has got a diameter which is small. Another factor is the thickness of the coating of the stationary phase. Okay, thickness of the liquid of the coating phase, liquid coating on stationary support of the stationary phase. It is the thickness of the stationary phase which is coated on the stationary support. The stationary phase, you are having a layer of the stationary phase on a stationary support. So that stationary phase has got some thickness. That is your DF. Okay, thickness of the film, DF. This also has to be smaller. If it is smaller, then your rate of migration is, or rate of transfer, the rate of transfer from the mobile to the stationary and the stationary to the mobile is higher. Now, the first term we'll consider in detail, the velocity of the mobile phase or the effect of the mobile phase flow rate. The mobile phase flow rate is one thing which you can control, but it will determine the efficiency of the column. Plate height, if you plot against the flow rate for liquid chromatography, you get a hockey stick shaped curve. That is, you are having initial value of h, and then it decreases, and then it rises as the flow rate increases. So you will find that there is a optimum velocity, optimum flow rate at which the plate height is minimum. Remember, the plate number is dependent on plate height. Plate number is L by H. So lower the H value, greater will be the plate number and higher the efficiency. So obviously you have to choose a flow rate which is smaller, so that you get lower H values. In liquid chromatography, the plate numbers are very small, and you can see they are of the order of 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 millimeters. Sorry, the plate height are very small, of the order of 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 millimeters. The flow rate, if you try to increase, then the plate height will increase. Now usually you cannot operate at very low flow rate because the time taken for the analysis will be more. So what is done is the slope of the rising part is made as minimum as possible, so that even at higher flow rate the H value doesn't rise that much. As per the graph shown here, at higher flow rate the H value will increase, but if you decrease the slope of the rising part of the curve, the plate height will not rise that much. So in that case you can deploy a little bit higher flow rate for a faster separation. If you consider gas chromatography, the flow rate, also the curve which you obtain is somewhat parabolic. Initially the plate height is very high, then plate height is high. As the flow rate increases, the plate height will reduce, and then again as the flow rate increases, the plate height will increase. So it passes through a minimum. The curve has a minimum, and that is called the optimum flow rate. You can see that in the case of GC, the plate height values are much higher as compared to HPLC. These values are of the order of millimeters, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 millimeters of such orders they are having. Whereas in the case of HPLC or LC, the plate heights are much lower. So you can see that you have to operate the gas chromatograph. In gas chromatography, the mobile phase velocity, you have to obtain you have to operate at a optimum velocity, which is the minimum in the curve, U optimum. Lower values of plate height are preferred for higher plate number or for higher efficiency. So in both the cases, we try to reduce the plate height. We try to create the operating conditions in chromatography so that the plate height is reduced. Higher flow rates will result in higher height, higher H values. So we have to make use of optimum low value of the velocity, and that optimum low velocity, the plate height is h is minimum. For LC, the optimum values are far lower than GC. The H versus flow rate plots, these above plots, they are called the Van Dien-Test plot. Van Dien-Test gave us an equation which we'll see in the next video. This Van Dien-Test plot are nothing but the plots of the H value against the mobile phase velocity. In the case of LC, as I said earlier, you are making use of higher pressure, and you cannot use long columns, because if you try to use long columns to get higher plate numbers, the column may break under the pressure. Also, because the flow rates used in the LC are much higher. Sorry, the flow rates used in LC are much lower. The time taken for the separation will be large if you are using long columns. In the case of GC, flow rates, you can use higher flow rates, and because the H value is large for GC, you can use a longer column, and the formula is N is equal to L by H. So if you use longer column, L will compensate for the higher value of H, and you can achieve a better separation. Ultimately we want higher value of N. Either you decrease H, or you increase the column length. In GC, longer columns are used of the order of 50 meters, 30 to 50 meters, or even higher, even longer. But they are coiled. You cannot use a vertical column of 50 meters. You have to coil them and use. In LC, the columns are of 32. The columns are of 50 to 100 centimeters. So this is about the mobile phase velocity. We will consider the other factors of the column and in the next video. Thank you. Please do watch the video of plate theory. In the playlist, I have given the link. Thank you.